I want to take a moment and make a very important announcement for those people who consider themselves a remnant. Our monthly meetings are normally the first Saturday of every month. However, in May and June, they will be combined into Memorial Weekend so we can have the entire weekend to focus on God and also make sure that we remember those who laid down their life for us here in the USA. Welcome to a series called The End of Times, where we're going through the book of Revelation verse by verse to see what it is we can expect to happen in the end times. And as we've gone through this book, we've spent really 180 so episodes going through it verse by verse, but I was indoors. And as we get to the part where God had decreated heaven and earth, and the new heaven and the new earth has come about, I just felt called by God to do this outside by the lake in the sunrise. And that's why we're here. And as we see the new Jerusalem descending out of heaven, it's very important we understand all aspects of it, that we just don't look at some of it, that we look at all of it, because all of it is incredibly important. And we really spent the last couple episodes talking about the precious stones that we're seeing, recently the foundation. And we pointed out, based on biblical things, biblical cross-referencing only, that as we see in 19, the foundations of the wall of city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper. It was jasper, and anytime you see the glory of God, it is illuminating the jasper color. That we see that he is in there. We know that he is there because it is illuminated with jasper. And the very first foundation is jasper. It's his holy presence. It represents the glory of God. And then the second foundation is sapphire. And we see, based on cross-referencing with the Bible, that that's every time somebody sees God walking, his feet are on sapphire stones. When he sits on his throne, it's a sapphire throne. Anywhere he walks or touches seems to be sapphire, so we know that he is there, that the foundations are sapphire. And now we get to this third one, and this third one is fascinating. So we'll just pick it up there. The foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, and the third chalcedony. Now, chalcedony in the Bible is a very kind of tricky thing to talk about. And a lot of it is because anytime you see the word rubies or agate, it's usually some sort of stone. They don't really know what that is. So they'll say rubies, some sort of precious stone, when they interpret it from Old Testament and New Testament languages. So this particular word, chalcedony, we're going to focus on that because what it represents is really one of the most beautiful things for you and I. So chalcedony, let's just look at the word, because if you look at chalcedony in the Bible, it's the only place you're probably going to find it. It's the only place I've found it. So you have to, well, what is chalcedony? Well, let's just say based off of the word itself, because many Bible translations will not say chalcedony here, they'll say agate. Now, agate is a derivative of chalcedony. That is just a geological fact. So when you look at chalcedony, this word here is chalcedon. So when somebody puts in the word agate, that's not a correct translation. It should be chalcedony, not agate. But again, agate is a derivative of chalcedony. So a lot of times when you see agate in the Bible, they want to put agate here because then they can say, well, that's a similar thing. And that's a very reasonable thing to do, because when you look at agate in the Bible, which again is a derivative of chalcedony, meaning that every agate is a chalcedony. Not all chalcedonies are agates, but all agates are chalcedonies. So when you see the word agate in the Old Testament, that is a chalcedony. So you could call that a chalcedony, and that's why a lot of these translations will say, well, it says agate. That way people can find the connection. But agate is also one of those kind of like rubies. So you got to be careful. So for example, when you look at the breastplate that has the 12 precious stones in it, one of those stones is agate. But the reality is, if you look at that word, the word is sibo. And if you look at the translation, it says most likely agate, some sort of a precious stone. So you got to be careful. But then if you look at like another place you see agate in the Bible, Isaiah 54:12, that word is katkad, and that is agate. So you kind of got to just be careful of the word ruby and agate as you read the Bible. Make sure it says ruby, not just, well, some sort of precious stones. We'll just say ruby. That's very common. So be cautious of that. But we can go back to Isaiah 54:12, and this is very significant. Because what's taking place here is really a beautiful thing. So I'm going to pick it up in Isaiah 54:9. For this is like the waters of Noah to me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah would no longer cover the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be angry with you, nor rebuke you. For the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from you, nor shall my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has mercy on you. O you afflicted one, tossed with tempest and not comforted, behold, I will lay your stones with colorful gems and lay your foundations with sapphires. I will make your pinnacles of rubies. Now here's where you got to be careful, because this word here, kadkad, this is, the roughest translation you can find of this is some sort of a quartz. Now a quartz is also an agate. So that's why a lot of translations will put an agate. But if you look at this word kadkad, a lot of people will say, well, I don't know what that means. We'll just say rubies. But that is agate there. And you can look at a lot of other translations, and that's what you're going to see there. And pinnacles here is an interesting word as well, because what they mean is shemesh. It's really more of like a sunshine, battlements, shields, that kind of thing. So this is a very rough translation of what Isaiah is saying here. Now, I use the New King James Version because it speaks my language, but it's very important we translate these words. And don't take my word for it. You can go find a concordance and do this for yourself. But if you look at Isaiah 55:12, ultimately what it is saying, or 11, it says, O you afflicted one, tossed in tempest and not comforted, behold, I lay your stones with colorful gems. I lay your foundations with sapphires. And then here's 12. I'll make your battlements of chalcedony, because every agate is a chalcedony. So ultimately what this says here is you have to look up what's leading up to what he just said. So we're going to go back to this. For the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from you, nor shall my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has mercy on you. So this is about a promise. This is about a covenant, is what this particular thing is about. Now again, do the concordance. Do look this up. Don't take my words for it. But we're talking about the same stone here. This is not a ruby. You'll find it's definitely not a ruby. So this is about a promise. This is about a covenant. For the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed. This is about a decreating the earth. But my kindness shall not depart from you, nor shall my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has mercy on you. This third foundation represents the promise that is being fulfilled. His mountains shall depart and his hills shall be removed. And we will see that take place. And then here comes the New Jerusalem, and it is the promise. Like it's like third foundation. We got the glory of God. God touched this first foundation. This is the glory of God. And by the way, it's also illuminating, as we saw in earlier passages. It's illuminating jasper. It's illuminating the glory of God. Then the second foundation, God has touched this. He built this for you. He made that for you. And now the third foundation is, okay, promise fulfilled. So we go back to Revelation 21. 19. And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation, jasper. The second, sapphire. And the third, chalcedony, agate. Hope these videos are helping. It's a promise. It's what it is, and there it is, fulfilled. Any thoughts or insight on that, definitely put in the comments below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel with Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, so please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, love guns.